What's going on, everybody? The world's a better place because you're here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I am the host, the Productive Conversations podcast. It's a Thursday, December 19th, 2024, and we have our weekly NFL recap presented to you right here, right now. Yes, it's been a busy time. We didn't get to our usual Tuesday. Obviously, it's been a mess with work and everything, but we won't make that mistake again. And we'll be back out on the regular schedule. On Monday, we'll have a reaction to the college football playoffs first round this weekend. On Tuesday next week, we'll have reaction to week 16 of the NFL season. Then the same thing the next week. Talk that Monday next talk the 30th, or we'll talk the end of the week next week. Because after January 1st will be the second round. Then the semifinals a week after that. And then national championship January 20th, and then we'll just follow for the next few weeks. Doing NFL on Tuesday, and then after the new year, we're gonna do Mondays, with the exception of next week. That first week, they have the first divisional game. Sorry, the wild card round with a Monday night game thrown in there. So we'll talk after that. So we got about 3 to 4 weeks left with NFL on Tuesdays, and then Mondays for college football next week. Then the end of next week will be college football again, and then Mondays the last 2 weeks of the year. So that's how it'll work. So let's get to it. Let's talk about week 15 first. The sloppy, low-scoring, season-ending game for the San Francisco 49ers, having player quit on them, and the Rams, not facilitating their offense much, were able to get a solid and important win, and now they're probably the best team in the NFC West. Let's be real. I know the Seahawks might have something too, but the Rams, this is their division to win, 12-16. Giants and Ravens, Lamar Jackson's 5 touchdowns gives them a reason to be back in the playoff race, and shows why the Giants are an absolute disgrace. Losing their 8th straight at home, their 9th straight this year, and yeah, I just can't wait for this horrible, horrendous season to end. And I'll leave my complaints long term for the end of the season. But loss is a loss. Our draft stock adds to it. Probably going to pick 1 or 2 overall, but an embarrassing loss once again. On the other side, and then the Ravens just getting some huge momentum as they have a big game on Sunday against Pittsburgh. We also have this week, amongst that, we had the Jets and the Jaguars, where the Jets with Aaron Rodgers looking like an old Aaron Rodgers. Jacksonville in a little bit of a take bowl, made a little bit of a fight, but Aaron Rodgers just used all his. And this was a complete game for what the Jets should have been 2024, using Adams. Rodgers getting only 11 yards shy of 300 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Devontae Adams having 98 receiving yards and 9 receptions, 2 touchdowns just in the second half alone. Garrett Wilson got some love. Defense did show some, not that it matters at this point of the season, but defense was lacking still. But the Jets get this big victory, and now we see if Aaron Rodgers makes his return next year, I guess. But we'll talk more about the Jets on the long term again at the end of the year as well. Cowboys and Panthers, uh, the Bryce Young, effect didn't. The Bryce Young comeback in the second half of the season comes to an end with the Cowboys throwing a 30 spot on the Panthers, absolutely mauling them, and giving any semblance left of what the Cowboys can have. But yeah, we know that there may big changes coming in Dallas, but a nice win for confidence reasons. And the Commanders and Saints was a closer game than we thought. Still a hell of a game from Jaden Daniels, up at 17-0, but the Washington defense led up to the point where Spencer Rattler comes into the game, almost makes a big impact, almost leads a big comeback. They fail on the 2-point conversion, and Washington allows the Washington's playoff hopes to be secure. While the Saints just throwing some life left, they've had one hell in a hell of a season in a bad way. ups and downs with injuries. Such a hot start at the beginning. People thought that they might have something, but they're playing for this interim coach at least. Probably lost their chance of the playoffs. They definitely needed this game, but Washington getting a big victory for them to help secure themselves in the playoffs. Bengals and Titans. Despite Bengals giving up 27 against this bad team, the Bengals scoring 37, keeping their season alive as well. With Joe Burrow being an hell of a player maker this game. 26 to 37, 27 yards, 3 touchdowns. Did throw a couple picks, but still a solid game with a Titans team that's just also in an abyss at this point. Chiefs and Browns. Obviously, the big story here with Mahomes leaving with an ankle injury, high ankle sprain, it seems, but he's been practicing all week this week, so he's probably back. Chiefs are perfect. Nothing bad can happen to them. They'll have help this time, but I mean, a big win, even though their offensive line is starting to crumble. There are some concerns there for Kansas City, but they still are able to pull off the victory. And Jameis Winston played a god awful with 3 picks, and now they're putting in Dorian Thompson-Smith in to finish out the season for Cleveland. Broncos and Texans. Sorry, Broncos and Colts. Colts really needed this game. They go to Denver, a hostile crowd, to keep their season alive, and they shit the bed. Terrible offensive game, creating turnovers, no separation. And while the Colts defense definitely put up a fight, in the sense that, despite giving up 31 points, still created a lot of turnovers throughout. But Bo Nix didn't have the best game possible either. But did through enough that just throw so many points. And again, thanks to the Broncos defense really being the star of this game with the 5 turnovers. And they now are closing in on a playoff berth themselves, while the Colts will need a lot of help, but their season's probably shot. Dolphins and Texans. The scariest part was the injury from the wide receiver, but he seems to be okay. But besides that, Houston seems alive too, despite having many mistakes throughout the game. And ultimately, they leaned at what they do best, getting the CJ Stroud, Nico Collins connection, getting enough to score 20 to win 20-12. And Miami being called out for not stepping up against really good teams, despite this Texan team not being the same. They're letting up. Their offensive line is struggling. But ultimately, Dolphins' playoff chances are kind of shot as well, while the Texans get a big 20-12 victory. Cardinals and Patriots. Cardinals mauled 30 points, keeps their season alive thanks to James Conner playing. Thanks to James Conner's an amazing performance in the running game. 60 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. Everything working on offense, and we just know the Patriots are rebuilding, and they couldn't extend the Cardinals' losing streak. But Cardinals get back into some action, get some momentum back that they needed. And what was a true slobber knocker, as they say, the Buffalo Bills win 48-42 thanks to an absolute offensive explosion. Josh Allen proving why he's the MVP. James Cook having the game of his life. Josh Allen just using all his new receivers. And the Detroit Lions defense makes you feel a little less confident if they can win the whole thing. Plus, they had 2 more injuries on defense as well, especially their defensive line. Despite Jared Goff with the 5 touchdowns and 494 yards, and again they play a hell of a game. It was Buffalo that just had more points. That's all it went down to. Maybe a Super Bowl rematch, maybe not. But as long as Buffalo could play like they've been playing in the last few weeks, and they can do it in Kansas City, maybe the Bills can finally get over the hump. And a game that both teams also needed with the Buccaneers and Chargers, a 40 spot for them. Huge 40 spot. 172 yards for rookie Irving. Baker Mayfield once again with a 4 touchdown game. Mike Evans storing it up, and then the Chargers defense just had no answers. Embarrassed at home, could not make any big plays throughout, and ultimately the Buccaneers get this 40-17 victory. And the Eagles, finally, the beef between Hurts and Brown put aside, and those two just went ham with each other. Not only with Jalen Hurts, 290 yards and 2 touchdowns, but A.J. Brown, 8 receptions, 110 yards, get a touchdown. You just knew that they were going to be on the same page. You just knew it. And a terrible offensive game for Pittsburgh. I mean, in the running game alone, the highest rusher, Najee Harris, is only 6 carries of 14 yards. There wasn't any crazy weather, but Eagles now are one of the more complete teams in the NFC. They've won 10 in a row now, and yeah, everything just seems to be working in Philly. And then in a crucial Sunday night game where Jordan Love just plays his heart out and Geno Smith plays like crap. I mean, 50-19 is good, but couldn't facilitate more. Just the Packers offensive and defensively owned the Seattle out at the link, and a big 30-13 victory secures the playoff hopes for Green Bay, and the Seahawks are a mess. And then any momentum that the Bears have left might be shot because a big 30-12 victory for Minnesota, with Detroit losing, gets them tied. They'll have a big game at the end of the season against each other. And now they have their 7th straight victory. Shoot, Sam Darnold might have his chance to get paid. And Minnesota with the beatdown against Chicago, a 30-12 victory. And then the Falcons, despite winning over Vegas, kept it a little too close. Kirk Cousins unfortunately lost his job. Despite throwing a touchdown, he still threw another pick. Only 112 yards. Relied more on the running game. And for a Vegas team that is trying to tank, having Desmond Ridder out there, still wasn't able to make some big points on the Falcons. Listen, the Falcons didn't play well, but luckily that they played probably the team that's getting the first overall pick. But Kirk Cousins is done. Already, despite signing that big 4-year contract, Kirk Cousins is benched for Michael Penix Jr. And as they play against the Giants, we'll see if a great NFL career can start there. But yeah, that is our quick recap for Week 15 of the NFL season. We'll see you back here next Tuesday for Week 16 recap. And yeah, down to the wire. Let's enjoy what the NFL has to offer. Check out the tweet cap on Friday. And yeah, next week, college football playoffs, 2 tweet caps, or maybe just 1 tweet cap. We got to check that out. And then at least 1 tweet cap next week. And then we'll have 1 tweet cap next week, timeline and college football and NFL. So busy last full week of the year next week. Let's enjoy it. See you soon, everybody.